Hello and welcome to this week's Stamping and Creating. I'm Fiona Whitten and you will also find me on Facebook and on the web and on Instagram as Oakville Crafts. Stamping and Creating is something that I do it on the Wednesday afternoons on the weeks that I don't actually do card and a cuppa. So I have card and a cuppa twice a month on the first and the third Wednesdays, live in person in the mornings, and then in the afternoons I do a virtual card and a cuppa. And then the weeks when there's no card and a cuppa on, I do my Stamping and Creating. So I am live on Facebook every week, or at least that is the plan. The card that I'm sharing today is actually one that I had planned to share in August, but the internet went down again. I've had some real problems. I had 2 whole weeks where we actually had nothing at all, and then we had 1 week where it just decided in the middle of the afternoon, well, in the middle of the morning, it was not going to work. So anyway, so this was the card that I was going to share back in August. It's called a fractured card. The reason being that the paper looks like it has been split up by these lines. Now this paper is actually the Winter Meadow paper, which is in the new mini catalogue. So that's the September to December mini catalogue, but I'm not going to use that today. I'm going to use a different paper, but these are the 2 that I had originally created to share in August. So both, as I said, both papers are from the Winter Meadow, and it just shows you how just using different colours can make things look completely different. They differ slightly other than the paper in that this one is mounted, the sentiment is mounted onto another piece of coloured cardstock, whereas this one isn't. But this one, I don't know if you can see it, there is a sparkle all over it, which is from the Wink of Stella, which I've just sort of flicked all over. Yeah, I don't think you can see it too well, which is a pain, but never mind. Okay, so those are the 2 cards that I previously made. Today I'm going to make card using, I'll show you. So it's called Garden Walk, and you'll find it on page 53 of the mini catalogue. Yes, I can share this now. It's not a problem. There is a whole collection suite that goes with it. So there's paper, there's stamp set with a punch. Punch looks like this. So this is the punch. So it's pretty big punch stamp set. Now this stamp set, it's a 2-step stamping because you can use the various stamps together. The images here are shown at 90%, so they are in fact bigger than what's shown on the front there. So just so you know that. But the paper, and the reason I like this paper, as I said, it's called Garden Walk, is that it not only has lots of flowers, but it has poinsettias on. So it's great for Christmas too. So there's 6x6 paper, there's 48 sheets, and you actually get 6 sheets of each of the 8 different designs. So this is the Christmas one, and the stamp set actually has a Christmas sentiment too, which is really good. So it's wishing you the warm blessings of Christmas, but it also has things that will cover other stuff during the year. So we've got birthdays, enjoy your special day, which could be a birthday, an anniversary or whatever, and then a best wishes for a fun-filled future together. So that's obviously more like a wedding type thing or engagement, stuff like that. So as I said, poinsettias, yes. So that's good for Christmas. And on the reverse side, so we've got Poppy Parade, Garden Green, Pretty Peacock, Wild Wheat, and what else have we got on here? Garden Green, there's all sorts of colours on here. And then on the reverse, we've got Pretty Peacock. Oh, what's going on with my internet at the moment? I was just caught up the corner of my eye and I could see something really weird. I think I must be flicking things too quickly or something's breaking down. We've got some small flowers, nice and bright, although it has got a very dark green background. And we've got stripes on the reverse. White background with lots of little sweet flowers. So we've got Poppy Parade, Wild Wheat, Garden Green, Pretty Peacock. Pink is well, it's supposed to be Calypso Coral, but actually I think that's just a lighter shade of the Poppy Parade. There's this rather gorgeous, this kind of reminds me of William Morris type wallpaper and stuff like that. So we've got Poppy Parade, Wild Wheat, Garden Green, Calypso Coral, all sorts of things. That's actually the one I'm going to use today. Oops, I didn't show you the reverse side, so it's just simple stripes. That one is stripes. There's a lot of stripes on the reverse side of these. More Calypso Coral and Calypso Coral on the back. This is very pretty with the roses. We have that with more stripes. This is diagonal stripes. Little flowers again with stripes. And then we have these more Calypso Coral and pink and just little dots. So that's the paper. And as well as the paper and the stamp set and the punch, there are also some coordinating pearls. So they look like this, and there's 4 colours here. So we have gold, garden green, Pretty Peacock, and petal pink. So that petal pink is the other colour that's in the paper. So we have those, and then we also have some Calypso Coral ribbon. So I would call this it's like a woven braid or plaited braid. It's not quite, I guess it is kind of plaited. So that's rather nice. It's quite thin. We'll make very cute little bows and things, or for tying around. It's actually pretty good for packaging as well, if you were making a sweet box or something and you wanted to tie it up. So that would be very, very cute. There we go, nice little bow. And you can play around with these things for your heart's content, really. My sister Tracy likes to make bows, and she'll just sit there and play with ribbon and stuff for hours making bows. So just leave her to it sometimes if I need a lot of bows. Right, anyway, so I digress. So I'm going to bring in, so this is the paper that I said that I was going to use. And I've also brought in some different coloured cardstock. So I have Poppy Parade, I have Wild Wheat, I have Mossy Meadow, and I have Calypso Coral. And you see all of those go really well with that paper. And the question is, what colour do I use for the back? I'm not going to use the Wild Wheat because the background for the paper is very similar to that. So I think I'm going to use Mossy Meadow. And then see how we get on with that. So this is actually, surprisingly, a pretty straightforward card to make. Let's put that to one side. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a card base. It's a standard card base. So if you're in the UK, you'll get your sheet of A4 and you cut it in half on the long side. If you're in the US, then again, you get your sheet, but you have different size paper. So that is letter size, but again, you just simply cut it on the long side in half. So for us in the UK, I'm cutting at 14.9, 14.85 centimetres, turning it and scoring it at 10.5 centimetres. So on our trimmers, the light grey is for scoring and the dark grey is for cutting. So when you're scoring, you always want to make sure that this cutting blade is well and truly out the way. And the nice thing, oops, Nisi, now I've just gone and cut my card. Yep, so you know what, we're just going to get the next piece and score it again. So do as I say and not as I do. So that's my base card. I then want to cut the paper so that there is a little border going all the way around. So my card base is 10.5 centimetres wide, so I'm going to cut it at 10. I like to have, on my cards I sort of go in increments of 0.5 centimetre, and then I know that I will always have the same size border going all the way around. So I've cut that at 10 and I'm going to turn it and cut it at 14.4, like so. So I have that, and I know that when I put that on top, I have a nice even layer that you can see underneath all the way around. Now I need a second colour, although you don't have to. You can actually use the same colour, and I can't decide whether or not I want to actually do that. And the second colour, basically, that tells you what colour you're going to use for cutting these pieces as well. So if I want, I think I'm going to, I don't know, do I use Calypso Coral? I don't want, or do I want to use, I think the red will be quite nice. Calypso Coral will be quite nice as well. I think I'm going to use Calypso Coral. So I want to cut a piece of Calypso Coral that is the same size as this piece of cardstock. So I'm going to cut my cardstock in half first, because then I know that I will always have another one piece that I can at least use to recreate another card. So I'm just going to now cut a piece that is 10 centimetres by 14.4 centimetres. So that's the exact same size as this piece of double-sided paper. Why? I can hear you saying, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why that? Because it's simply because the next step is to cut a hole in the paper. Now, you need a square or basically a shape, a die that has square edges. Using a circle, an oval, there's no point, because you've got nothing to put your straight strips against. So you do need so as I said, a square. Square is probably best, because you can then put it on as a diamond. Now I've got the stylish shape dies. So these are they. So I'm ignoring the circles and I'm ignoring the banners, but what I do have are the squares. Now there are 5 squares. I don't want to use the really large one because it will basically go off the edge of my paper. So I'm going to ignore that one, and I'm also going to ignore the smallest one because it's just too small for what I want on this. So I'm using the 3 dies that are in the middle between the largest and the smallest. Let's just put that away. Now I don't know if I'm going to get my big shot, my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine on here. Let's see. So you want to use the largest of those three that you have pulled out, and you want to cut. Now this is where you need to sort of play around with your paper, because you may not want to cut through a particular part of the design. So if I had put it this way around, I would have ended up taking off most of that flower here. Although that piece will get reused. But if I put it here, then really it's only going to be that leaf that goes. So you want to put it so that it's equal distant here to the left and to the right, and fairly close to the top. It doesn't have to be exactly the same distance side and side and at the top, because if you did that you really wouldn't really have much space to put your strips. So this is 10, so if I go from 15 to 25, that I know that that is that, then that means I know that I can line up the point on this square, top and bottom, or roughly top and bottom, if I don't move the thing. And I'm just going to use a little tiny bit of washi tape just to hold it, because otherwise it will go walkabouts. I know me, I'm not very good when it comes to die cutting, and especially when things are really, it's really important that they don't move around. So I'm just going to use a little bit of washi tape top and bottom, like so. This is one of the old Stampin' Up ones, which is really good, handy to use. So I'm now going to put that through my Stampin' Cup and Emboss machine. Now this is actually too wide to go through the mini machine, so which is why I'm going to use the, oops daisy, the other one. Let's see, try and get it on this table without it knocking everything. So standard cutting, so I've got my base plate, and I like this machine because it tells you what numbers of plates to use to actually die cut and emboss and things. So I'm using thin dies, so I want my base plate, which is number 1, number 2, which is this shim, and then a number 3 plate, which mine looks all scratched up. Whoops, sorry. Then you put your paper and your die on, and then you put the other number 3 plate on top. So that is your sandwich for die cutting. And then you simply run it through the machine. And it should come out the other end once I crank the handle. Right, so that's that. So this will have cut out. And I would move the machine away, but I need it again. So I've cut out my square, which I've put on as a diamond shape. And you just need to be careful taking that washi tape off. You don't want to tear the paper. Otherwise you have to start again. Here we go. Right, so that's off. Okay, so the next step is to take back that piece of cardstock that is the exact same size as that paper, like so. You want to make sure that they are, one's laid on top of the other directly. It's no good to have it to one side or top and bottom. You need to have it exactly the same. And you're then going to take that middle-sized die from the 3 that you've taken out of your die set, and you want to put that in the middle of that diamond that was created by that first die. Now you could run it through the machine at the same time with both the paper and the die, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to put that on and then remove that. Okay, so again I've got my Make my sandwich. Run that through the machine. Like so. Now I can take the machine away for the time being. So that's that. So that's that cardstock that has now been die cut. And again, you want to take off this piece. You don't actually need. This piece you do. So what you're then going to do is you're going to bring back your paper and you're going to glue it on top of the die cut cardstock, so you can see, so you have a border, a coloured border on the inside. So whatever glue is you prefer to use, I like to use the wet glue simply because it means that I can, I've got a bit of wiggle room. Like so. And as I said, you want to make sure that it sits exactly over here, so that I want to make sure that this is equal all sides, and hopefully that means that you haven't got, I do have edging that's slightly different, but that's okay. So that's all together now, so that's all square. It's perfect. Okay, now that will eventually get put on top of your card, but not just yet, because what you want to do put that to one side, is you want to get your whatever colour you're using that you can see through here, you want to get a scrap of it. It needs to be fairly long, so I've got the other quarter of my piece from here, and what you want to do is you actually want to cut some strips. Now the strips, very much, the width of the strips very much depend on the dies that you have used. So I've used the stylish shapes, and I know that I need to cut my strips to be roughly like 0.6 of a centimetre. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to cut 4 strips. So when you've done this, I would take out your ruler and measure the distance from that edge here to the edge of the from the edge of the paper to the edge of the cardstock to the edge of the paper, and then cut 4 strips in that width. And then, as I said, they need to be fairly long, because you'll find that you're going to have one that's going to be coming all the way across here. So bring back, oops, that was the die set going. So bring back this. Now I want it to be 0.6 of a centimetre. Now I know I've got a ½ centimetre mark on this trimmer, both that side and that side. For when I'm cutting small pieces, I prefer to use the one to the right, excuse me, because then I know that the majority of the cardstock that I'm not then cutting is on the board and staying flat. There's nothing worse than trying to cut here ½ centimetre and having this bit sort of waving around. So if you use that 0.6 of a centimetre on that side, that makes it so much easier. Make sure that that's kind of roughly. So I need 4 of these. So there's one. Take that out of the way so I don't cut it in half. 2. 3. 4. So that's that. So move that back out the way again. And what you're going to do is you're going to lay these pieces on here. So if you see you've got to start somewhere, and where you start it, the first one that you do, you want to make sure you don't go completely into the corner of the cardstock that you can see, but bring it back to that inside corner and start it there, and then glue it on so that it goes right the way across like that. Going to be enough glue for that one because it's not that long. Okay, so the first one I'm going to say, as I said, have it starting there where that edge is. You're going to glue it directly onto that edge of cardstock that you could see, like that. You're going to turn your card around, and then the next one you're going to butt up against that piece that you've already glued on, and then you're just going to carry on repeating that, going all the way around. And this is the longer one, so this is why I said that you need to have it quite long. The last thing you need to do is try to join it. So again, make sure that it's covering that edge, and that it goes all the way down and off the paper, like so. So although it's called a fracture card, really it's a bit of an optical illusion in that you haven't cut all that paper up. You're just simply breaking up the pattern by putting on strips of cardstock. So that's the third one going on, like so. And the fourth one will then go from butted up against there, and as you can see, it will then go neatly across the top of that first one that you put on. Like so. Oops. And you don't need to push it underneath. That's not what you're supposed to do. There we go. So you have now sort of a spiral effect, and all you need to do is trim off that excess, take it back to the edge of the card. So I'm just going to take it back to here on all four. All four bits come off. So this one, I managed to not so cleverly get it so that it came towards the corner. I just need to make sure that it's actually square on that corner and not, that's it. So that is my fractured card, basically. Now it's up to you what you want to do with this piece here. You could, if you wanted to. Oops. So I said be careful taking that out. It's going to get hidden, so that's not so bad. Not brilliant, but hey. You could pop that back in. Like that. Or you could put this underneath, and this is where you need to kind of like line it up so that it looks like it's a continuation of the pattern. So I think I've pretty much that's pretty much okay like that. So you could put the paper underneath, and then you're going to do another square on top to put a sentiment on. So it's really, really up to you. If you're going to do this method, then I would suggest that you line up your corners if you've got grid paper, so that it's, you know, that is true triangular. I don't know, I've got triangles on the brain. So diamond shaped, and then just put a bead of glue around the reverse side of the cardstock and paper. If you're simply putting the coloured piece from the cardstock that got cut out back, then obviously you can just glue the back of that and pop it through. There's nothing to line up or anything. So let's see if I can do this again. I think that's pretty with it, like that. Okay, so now we have our fractured card front, which can be glued directly onto your base card, or you can use Stampin' dimensionals. I can see tiny piece of that Calypso Coral underneath, and I know that will annoy me. And I've found if that happens, if I hold and I want to just trim it off, short of taking my trimmer out and cutting through everything, if I just take my paper snips and I hold them at an angle, so they're kind of like, don't know if you can see, like, right, that's straight, but then angle them away, so that when you're cutting, you're actually cutting more. You're cutting what's underneath at an angle as well. So you're cutting more off the top, less off the top, I should say, than the bottom. And I found that actually works quite well, because you can take them tiniest of slithers off. So that can go on there, and I'm just going to glue that. Again, I'm going to use my wet glue. So that's going to go on there. Oops. Make sure I don't leave any of those bits on the card though. Make sure that this is the right way round. So that's going to go on there like that. And then how you finish it off, it's really up to you. So, so that was, where's my other die? So that was the large one that cut around the paper. That was the medium one that cut around mine is Calypso Coral. So that's that. And then that third one you can then use to cut a piece of white, very vanilla. You could cut another piece of the same colour as that. stamp on it and put your sentiment on there. It's how you finish it is really up to you. So I'm going to, I was going to use a piece of white. Where's it gone? Okay, I'm just going to have to cut the piece quickly and cut it out. So just bear with me. So what I'm doing now is I can't find my scrap, which I know I had. I'm just cutting a piece that I can stamp a sentiment on. I'm going to stamp and then die cut. Theory being that that will make sure that I actually have the sentiment directly in the middle. So we've got the It's Your Birthday. Where's that? Which will just go on here. So when you're stamping, just be sure that you have enough space to be able to put your die around it. There's no point in me stamping in this corner here and then finding out that my die's sort of off the page. So just double check that your image, sentiment, whatever, will fit within that, the die that you're using before you actually stamp it. I'm going to use, actually, you know what, I'm going to use Poppy Parade just to be a little different. I'm going to stamp it in Poppy Parade, and then if I don't like it, I'll re-stamp it in Calypso Coral. So I don't need, this is quite juicy, my ink pad. So I'm going to put it up here. It's Your Birthday. Like that. And that will then go, it's only just fits in, but you know what, just is just enough. Let's try that. Get a bit of washi tape again. This time I'm going to make sure it only sticks to the outside of the sentiment. Sorry, I'm just pulling that towards me so that I can make sure that I've got that square going across. I think that's pretty good. Like so. Put this back and run it through the machine. I'm going to leave the machine away from the table just so that I don't have to keep moving it up and down. Okay, so that's my Whisper white cardstock gone for a burden on the floor. Or my basic white, I should say. Right, there we go. So It's Your Birthday. Just get that off there. So that can fit on here. Now the question is whether that's a little bit too stark. I quite like it, but maybe I should have used Very Vanilla. But hey, I don't have any Very Vanilla here. So I'm not going to use Very Vanilla. And I'm going to cut a piece to go on the inside. So that is going to be, for me, it's going to be 10 centimetres by 14.4 centimetres. And that will go on the inside of the card. Don't need that. So I need my dimensionals, which for once I can see. If only I can actually get into the box. So I'm going to add some dimensionals on here. I'm just using up my what's left of a sheet. So paper snips, just cut through. Makes it really handy. It's waste not, want not. Just because they're not the hexagons doesn't mean you can't use them. Just they do the same job. So that is going to go on here in the middle, like that. And then this piece is going to go on the inside. And the question is whether I'm going to stamp. So I've got a few of the stamps from the Modern Garden stamp set. So I've got these flowers, and I've got the centre, and it's got some little dots on it. And the question is what colour. So I think, and this is where we're going to have to play a little bit, I'm going to use Calypso Coral. With it being two-step stamping, whatever the colour that is you want underneath, you want that to be a lighter colour than the colour that goes on top. And I also need my Stampin' Pierce mat for this, which I've gone, never mind, let's see how this works out. So I've got a ridiculously juicy Calypso Coral ink pad. And as you can see, it's gone all bubbly. So I know that when I stamp that, it's just going to, sometimes it forms a full colour, sometimes it doesn't. So I guess, because I've stamped off, I'm going to stamp it again. But I just don't want it to be too dark. And you can use this technique on the envelopes, whatever. So that's the Calypso Coral. So it's stamped off first onto my grid paper, and then I'm going to use Poppy Parade, which is that really lovely red that's sitting on the front of the card. Now with the two-step stamping, this particular one, you could spend ages and ages and ages trying to line it up. But all I simply do is I just line up the hole for the centre of the flower. I think I've obviously pushed too hard on that. Had too much ink on it, but heck. That's slightly better. It will dry slightly lighter. Try and get that centre lined up. That's those. And then I'm going to use some wild wheat for the inside of the flowers. So there are a couple of different flower centres. There are these as well on the actual. So like these can be used to create the middles and things. But I've just decided that you could stamp them and cut them out and then stick them on, but I'm not fussed about doing that. So I'm just simply I'm going to keep this as simple as possible. So we're going to put the centres on. So this is the wild wheat, like so. So yes, we have that centre, and we also have a much smaller one as well, which are for these, for the smaller flowers. But just be careful that you don't lose it, because it's one of those ones that I know if you put it down, that it's just going to go walkabout. So once you've used it, just stick it back on your on a block wherever you're keeping all your stamps, or just put it back in the box. Obviously clean it first. And then I'm going to use some Mossy Meadow. So I've got green. This is a really dark green, so it's this green and the green that I've used for the card base. Now I don't want necessarily the full colour. I just want to, oops, don't think I made a very good job of that one, but hey, there we go. I think I might put some more in here. That's that. And then that's just going to get glued to the sent to the inside of the card. And you could even put it that way around, actually. That's quite sweet. Quite like that. Maybe that's what I'll do. Glue. So again, a bit of wet glue. Like so. I'll put that on in the centre that way round. So no, I didn't make a mistake. That is deliberate. So there's my finished card. Oh no, it's not quite finished, is it? I need to put some embellishments on it. So let's go back to these pearls. So these, as I said, are the blooming petals pearls. Now we could use some gold. Could use a gold one. They're pretty large, actually. If you look, I mean that's my little fingernail, and the largest ones are fairly big. So when you put, if you are putting these in the post, I would suggest that you, when you put the card in the envelope, that you put another piece of card over the top. That will make sure that whatever you've put on the top, like these pearls or whatever, that they don't end up poking through the card itself. Because you don't really need to. Let's see, do I want to put a gold one on? That's quite nice, as is that green. Don't think I want that green because that's kind of too bluey, but that one, I'm going to use one of those. So this is the, put that one like that, and I think I might just add some little ones too, just to. So this tape you pick tool's got a putty end, and that's really good for picking up these sorts of things. They don't go pinging off and disappearing. There we go. All right, that's it. That's definitely finished now. So there we go. That is my fracture card using the Modern Garden stamp set and the, oh, where's all the rest of the paper? The Garden Walk paper. And then the other two that I made, say of them, are the Winter Meadow cards. So it's just by changing the paper, you can see that you really do get completely different looks. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing that. Next week is Card and a Cup a week. So I will be going live in the afternoon at 2:30. She says, just thinking, yes, I should be, for the virtual Card and a Cuppa. And obviously I will be in person at Home Grange, at the Grange Chocolate Cafe at 10 o'clock in the morning. So if you're local and you fancy coming over and to make a card, then please feel free to come along. It's £5 and that covers you for your card and your drink. Obviously, if you've already pre-ordered your kit, that's great. I think I gave them out already to most people that had pre-ordered them. But anyway, and yes, so any questions, please get in touch. Leave comments, questions, and I will post my answers and comments back on here. And I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.